So now that we understand what is a species and what is the process, what are the processes of speciation, let's move on to another type of speciation. But before, if you don't remember them all, so turn the video off and review again what is a species, what is the process of speciation, and what are the major types of speciation. Very good. So we're moving on to a second type of speciation after we already discussed allopatric speciation. I hope you remember what the word, the root of the word is from. So sympatric speciation. Sym means together in Greek, and patria, or as I said, the root of the word for patriotic in Latin refers to fatherland, in this case a locale. So sympatric speciation would refer to speciation that occurs without a geographical barrier. But what else still has to happen for speciation to occur? Gene flow has to be blocked. So the main requirement for the speciation processes to take place is that a group of a subset of the original population cannot freely interbreed with the rest of the population. So even though they are in the same area, in the same locale, in the same country, on the same mountain top, or in the same ocean, somewhere where they could meet, but for whatever reason they cannot interbreed. The simplest type of sympatric speciation to understand, it's caused by a doubling or increase in ploidy, or the sets of chromosomes number, which we call polyploidy, and we'll discuss this in a minute. The classical example for this type of sympatric speciation in which the number of sets of chromosomes has increased is referring to nothing else than a very common species that it's our daily bread. So bread wheat, Triticum aestivum, was determined through genetic analysis that is not just a diploid, not just a tetraploid, but is actually a hexaploid. But before we get to Triticum aestivum, or bread wheat, and wheat in general, let's review a little bit what exactly does ploidy mean. So take a second, think, try to write it down. If you need to, look it up and then come back. But you have heard before words such as haploid and diploid. And today we'll also talk about triploid or triploids, and even tetraploids, and even pentaploids, and even hexaploids or hexaploid. So again, as usual, take a moment and think. What are the words you recognize and what do they mean? Can you explain this concept to a friend? And if you cannot, it means you're not ready. So go back and review that. So we also, instead of writing the whole word, we signify haploid with N and diploid with 2N, which simply refer to, as you know and you reviewed, the number of sets of chromosomes a cell has. So, question, what are the haploid cells in your body and what are the diploid cells in your body? So, turn the video off, think, communicate, and then come back. Very good. Haploid cells are gametes. And gametes are sex cells, and the word comes from Greek, and as I mentioned before, it means marriage, and in this case, the gametes are the eggs and sperm, right? So eggs for females and sperm for males. Very good. So what are the cells that are diploid in your body? How do we call that? How do we call those cells? They have two sets of chromosomes. One comes from mom through the egg, and the other one comes from dad through the sperm. And we call those cells somatic cells. Somatic cells. And somatic cells, soma in Greek means body. So they're the body cells. So hopefully, most of us don't have any other chromosomes or any other sets of chromosomes. So remember, triploid refers to not just one extra chromosome, but an extra set of chromosomes. Let's say because one egg was fertilized in the same time by two sperm. So that produced a triploid zygote that in humans is not viable. So it's one of the reasons for miscarriages. And we signify this with 3N, sometimes through 3X, but for now we'll just leave it as that. So 3N, 4N, 5N, and 6N. So for example, if you are enjoying bananas, you probably don't want to bother with large seeds, which apparently wild bananas have. So an example of triploids that are great to horticulture and agriculture in general, it's the production of seedless species or seedless crops. Seedless crops. Take a minute to think of what are the seedless crops or fruits do you enjoy and why do you enjoy them seedless? Very good. So I already mentioned bananas. But probably one of the original seedless crop was referring to watermelons. So watermelons, so watermelons can be produced to have no seeds. And in order to produce that, every year you have to cultivate a diploid watermelon variety that has 22 chromosomes, and you have to breed it with a tetraploid variety of watermelon that has 44 chromosomes. So the seedless watermelons would have 33 chromosomes. Okay? So that means that at the metaphase plate, when this new individual, so you had 1 year, the summer before, you grew diploids and tetraploids watermelons, and then you produce the seeds, and you sold them, or you are growing them yourself, and the next year you have these triploid watermelons. And when their chromosomes try to line up at the metaphase plate, you have 3 sets to line up, and that's not possible. So that's why they're usually seedless. But that's also why occasionally seeds do occur. And it's kind of clear why do we want seedless bananas or seedless grapes and so on, right? You don't want to struggle with those seeds in your way or choke and so on. But for watermelons, and probably others as well, the importance of seedless is also that the energy that the plant usually puts into the seeds production, which is why the fruit is there, to entice animals to eat it and then distribute the seeds somewhere farther away. So that energy that usually the plants puts into the seed production and next generation, now it's putting more of that energy into a sweeter watermelon or a bigger or juicier, or in general what exactly we are looking for. Okay, so now that I understand what ploidy stands for, I will come back with the example of bread wheat. and how did it come about to be a hexaploid?